What's going on, everybody? My name is Andrew, and welcome back to the third episode out of four. I hope you guys are having a good time. I'm happy to see you guys here. I hope you guys are having a good day, good day, good day. Man, it's a beautiful day, man. It's a great day to talk about some assignments. We're going to talk about an assignment I did called Voices of the Earth. Now, this is a multilingual eco narrative project. If you're unfamiliar with this, I'm sure you are. Pretty sure you haven't heard about this. I'll dive into it for you. So, if you're unfamiliar with teacher education or curriculum design, that's also totally okay. I'll start by briefly explaining what this project is. Then I'll walk through the feedback I received, what went well, what didn't, etc., etc. So let's get started. What is the assignment and why it matters? So this project, I designed a high school English class assignment for not for multilingual learners, but includes multilingual learners, I would say. Um, at its core, it was a eco narrative, so it could be a story, a poem, a song, a reflective piece, told from the perspective of a natural element of the earth. So, a tree, a rock, a river, etc. Students are required to use literary devices, reflect on how language shapes meaning, and include at least one multilingual element to their project. So the purpose of this assignment was to combine creative writing, identity expression, multilingual assets, combine them all, and create one eco-narrative multilingual assignment. So the overall tone and feedback that I got from this assignment, um, I wanted to highlight the tone before I went into the feedback. So the feedback describes this assignment as like well conceived, creative, intellectually rich, developmentally appropriate as well, and it says inclusive as well. Um, so it's just emphasizing that the project has a clear, thorough line connecting language, identity, and ecology. Um, and that's important because it tells me that the core vision of this assignment is working, which I was happy to hear. The feedback isn't asking me to rethink the project or redo the project. It's asking me to refine and deepen it to make it even better for my students. So, one of the biggest strengths identified is conceptual coherence. So, the feedback that I got said that the learning objectives, assignment descriptions, steps, rubric, all align around the eco narrative writing. So, in other words, everything is working towards the same goal. This matters because students often struggle when assignments are fragmented or unclear. So the students know what they're doing, why they're doing it, and how they'll be assessed, and how to be successful within this. So from a teaching perspective, this tells me that the assignment is good, it's effective, it's thoroughly designed. It's not just creative for creativity's sake. You know what I mean? Um, so I incorporated a multilingual aspect to this because instead of instead of framing multilinguals as like needing support, um, this project more treats it like a resource or something you can make meaning out of, right? So students are invited to bring in a word or phrase from their home language or a different language if they like, and how they've studied it and reflect on how it enriches their writing. And again, they don't have to study it; it could be from their home language. That's okay too. Um, so I also wanted to touch on clarity and the reflection piece. So the feedback also looks at the clarity of my writing, the accessibility of instructions in my writing, and the balance of rigor and creativity, right? So I just wanted to make sure I was making an assignment that didn't overwhelm students, but still asks them to think deeply um, and write intentionally as well. I wanted them to reflect, right, on their. So all the feedback I received was pretty positive overall. It also identifies pretty clear areas for growth. So let's dive in. This assignment focus is on nature, right? So I wanted students to imagine the voice of a natural element, but the feedback points out that students don't actually interact with nature directly. So that's something that we can do. Maybe we could take them out, you know what I mean, to a forest, have them pick up a rock or analyze a river, look at a tree, study a frog, you know what I mean? So, because nature pedagogy, you're trying to get them active and out in nature, not just thinking about what it could be. They have to visualize it, they have to see it, be out in nature. Um, Especially since nature pedagogy is place based and forest based learning, right? Um, so it emphasizes like your sensory and embodied experience, what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're feeling, what you're smelling, everything. You know what I mean? Um, so this distinction was important for me. It helped me realize that I should be taking them outside and not just having them sit in the classroom and think about, oh, what could this rock, how did this rock form? How does this river flow? How does this frog eat? You know, I want them to see it. Um, so yeah, one of the most concrete suggestions was that outdoor element. So, for example, before students choose their narrator, they could spend like 10 to 15 minutes outside observing something, um, and it would just make for a more enriching learning experience. You know what I mean? It would allow deeper imagery for their writing, a stronger emotional connection to a place or a thing that they analyze. Um, so yeah, I think I could have done that a lot better. Another suggested revision is to add like a learning objective, right? So specifically one that names an ecological awareness and sense of place. So like for example, students will develop ecological awareness through direct observation and reflection, strengthening their relationship with the world. This might seem like a small critique, but it matters. Academically, it signals that nature learning isn't just incidental; it's intentional, right, and assessed. The feedback also suggests clarifying why multilingualism matters ecologically. Those lines were kind of blurred. Right now the multilingual element is strong in the project, but the feedback encourages it, tying it conceptually to nature. For example, explaining linguistic diversity mirrors ecological diversity, right? So it expands ways of seeing and describing the world because that was my goal in the project, right? Different languages, different cultures see the world differently. So this would help students understand that language choice um, isn't personal; it's connected to perspective, right? Perspective, culture, environment, all that stuff. Um, so yeah, like overall, I think the feedback was pretty good. While I was making it, I was like, oh man, like this is a good project, and then I got the feedback, and I definitely think there's ways I could have improved. For sure, taking them outside because nature pedagogy is forest based. Like they have to get out, they have to observe, they have to use their senses to understand what they're writing about and why they're writing about it. Um, I think that was definitely one of the biggest things I could have added in there. Um, so yeah, in closing this project, it helped me see how multilingual education and nature pedagogy can work together. Even though I thought they did, I could have described it a little bit better by reinforcing that different cultures see things differently and different languages have different meanings and sayings for things. You know what I mean? So yeah, thank you guys for listening, and I appreciate the opportunity to reflect on this work as a continuing and developing educator. Let's all remind each other that we're all developing, we're all learning. Um, yeah, so I thank you guys very much. Part four, oh, the very last part. You're 75% there. You gotta check it out. You gotta check out part four. It's right there. It's on the tip of It's right there. So go check it out. All right. My name is Andrew, and I appreciate you guys for listening, and I will see you in the next one.